Financial results were out yesterday for Simmers. They didn't really mean a whole lot because what's coming out of the ground at the moment and the operational results right now are of a company that's going to be completely different in just a short period. We've asked Gordon Miller, the Chief Executive, to come into the studio. Gordon, really just to have a look at maybe the future. The numbers are interesting, but I guess the part that came out of there was that you've raised an enormous amount of capital. In the past 6 months to the end of September, you raised another nearly 1.5 billion rand. That was on 1.3 billion rand the previous 6 months. And you spent 500 million rand in this past 6 month period. Where did that money that you've spent actually go?
I think we've got 4 development projects, 2 on gold and 2 which focus on uranium. As far as growth is concerned, it's mostly going into exploration, where we're finding ounces, which will provide a base for our future. So that's the exploration side of the equation. We have organic growth, where we're investing in existing producers to expand their production base. And we have acquisitive growth. We've also been able to acquire some assets in this process. So
split it between gold and uranium, that 500 million?
The majority is going into the gold and uranium business, which is within First Uranium. We've raised $300 million for that program. But the Simmers Gold business, we've raised 250 million rand. That's for the Buffelsfontein mine, which is ramping up to the number 5 shaft, and we've raised 130 million, which is pretty unique for South Africa, as we're actually putting that into the ground in the form of exploration to find new gold that was never been discovered before. So a very different approach in terms of the gold industry relative to where it's been over the past few decades.
It sounds a lot like Afrikaner leases in many ways. Afrikaner leases bought a gold mine. It was a rubbish gold operation, but they hit the jackpot with uranium, and look at them today. From your perspective, what the market is telling us is that your uranium assets are worth plenty of money, nearly 6 billion rand, but your gold assets are being valued at nil.
Yeah, we have a bit of a unique situation at the moment, where the subsidiary First Uranium, which trades on Toronto, is worth more than Simmers itself, and which effectively says the 2 gold assets we have there are not attracting any value whatsoever.
Maybe they're not worth anything.
Well, Buffels is a producing mine. It's got a very large reserve base, very large resource base. We're investing significantly in it, and we'll be ramping up production at Buffels. So
Buffels was also dropped it was aborted by 2 other companies. Anglo-Val dropped it around 2000, and then DRD dropped it recently. Well, before you picked it up.
I guess what's different in terms of our strategy is that we're investing for the long run, and the investments are being made on a couple of fronts to improve safety. Very, very important.
That's got to be critical, yeah?
Mission critical to us.
What's it like? Because at Buffels you're going down 2.5 kilometers now?
It's in the Clarksville region. We're all mining at much the same depth. We have a seismic network to manage seismic risk. That's one of the key aspects of operating in that environment, and part of the investments we've made is in technology, in support systems, in alternative support to improve the risk profile of those mines.
So that's really a key issue right now with the way government's looking at it. You heard perhaps on our news bulletin earlier that there is now going to be a 1-day strike focusing on safety. And of course, in this case, DRD, who previously owned Buffels, walked away from it after they had a seismic event. How sure are you that there won't be a repeat of that?
Well, there's a couple of issues that have changed dramatically since then. Obviously, in DRD's hands, it was very difficult for them to restructure a going concern. The gold price is half what it is today. So we have had the benefit of the gold price helping us. And getting back to the safety issue, it's not only a challenge in South Africa, it's a global phenomenon. It's everything to do with sustainable development.
They don't go down 2.5 kilometers.
Well, there's mines in Western Australia that are more seismic at shallower depths. So they have a different seismic regime to what we have at greater depths. And so, there are mines in Canada that are mining at great depth that are also seismic. And it's all about managing that risk. And from a responsibility point of view, it's up to everybody to make sure we improve our safety performance. Be that the regulators, be that organised labour, or business itself, and it's collaborating on those 3 fronts, and I have no doubt we will improve our safety record.
What's your record been so far?
We've been very fortunate to improve the safety performance there quite dramatically over time, and obviously it's taken significant investment to do that. At the end of the day, a safe mine is a productive mine, and so it's investments in the future that have a dual benefit. They improve the safety, but at the same time you improve the economic performance of the operation.
I guess that's because that's probably what the market is saying to you. DRD weren't able to make a go of it. It is a deep level mine. The country as a whole has got a new look at safety, getting far stricter. If there were to be a fatal accident, please God it doesn't happen, but if that were to occur, the impact of that on the mining operation would probably be quite severe.
The fundamental issue in terms of mining safety is about the whole raft of issues that you need to deal with. We have been successful in re-establishing number 5 shaft, and it was certainly seen as a 1 in 30-year event which damaged an area that was not particularly well maintained in the first place. So it wasn't as if it was in good condition and then suddenly went into a very bad condition as a result of the seismic event. It had deteriorated because that operation had been operated in a harvest mode for many, many years. And obviously when you do that, you run the infrastructure down and it becomes less safe. We're doing the opposite. We are investing significantly in that infrastructure for the long term. You see it in our results. We don't see, in fact, we forecast cash costs to go up year on year as we put money into development, as we put money into opening up places, put money into training. But in the long run, we believe that'll bear fruit, and we will see those benefits flow through to the bottom line over time.
Well, if you get it right at Biffles, then it is really a gold mine.
Well, it is a gold mine already.
Yeah,
Certainly, we have 4 big investment programs in terms of improving efficiency, improving safety, and improving profitability.
In the Mpumalanga region, there's an interesting story as well. You say in these results that you're going to be putting in 3 heap leach pads. Just explain what those are.
Heap leach technology revolutionized gold mining outside of South Africa. South Africa always dominated the world stage in terms of gold production, and it doesn't anymore. The technology that changed it was in terms of cyanide processing was carbon in leach and carbon in pulp, improved efficiencies. But the real revolutionary change was in heap leach technologies, and when you're taking low-grade ore, putting it on these impermeable pads and applying cyanide and extracting gold. And that's certainly been applied very successfully in Western Australia, Central USA, South America, and some of the world's biggest low-cost, low-risk mines are heap leach mines. And so it's a technology that's relatively new to South Africa. It has been done here before, but not on a large scale. The advantage that whole Mpumalanga gold field brings is that it has the potential to be a very large heap leach operation.
The word cyanide is going to get the greenies in a tiz, and particularly because you're mining around Sabi, which is an eco-sensitive area.
Well, cyanide's been used in that region for the last 100 years. So it's again a perception issue. All of South Africa's gold is recovered, there's no other way to get it out. So for the last 100 years we've been mining successfully with cyanide. So you don't hear about cyanide incidents because it's a very well managed process. It's managed by the suppliers, it's managed by the operators. And obviously, given the risk profiles, it's done pretty well.
So clearly, if it gets through the Australian and the American legislation and their environmental laws, it should be okay here. But I guess it's a perception thing. How are you addressing that with the people in the area?
At the end of the day, the MPRDA, the aims and objectives have been to improve what we've been doing for the last 100 years. And so it's a transformation process we're all going through, and we're going through it for the better. Yes, transformation takes time. It's all a development process, and I believe the interaction we've had with the NGOs, with regulators, with the local community in terms of the Sustainable Development Program, we're going to come away with a much better result, which is going to be sustainable in the long run, and we're going to come away with a better result than we have now. Forestry and mining has impacted on that environment very negatively in the last 130 years. When we finished with these programs, not only will we have created jobs, created wealth, but we'll leave the environment in a better state than when we found it.
I buy that, and I think any sensible investor would be buying that. But the people on the ground, are you getting that message through to them?
Well, at the end of the day, our commitment is to the local economic development programs that are developed by the people that are elected in that region. At the end of the day, that's the mandate they have in terms of economic development, and we fully support that. So we've certainly had tremendous support from the municipalities in those areas, given that we have a responsible approach, and we believe that interaction with the NGOs gives us a better result, and at the end of the day gives them a better result, is that we're going to have economic development in a region which sorely needs it.
Gordon Miller, a couple of challenges, but boy, if they get it right, then that Simmer's share price is probably very cheap. We didn't talk about the jewel in the Simmer's crown, that's the uranium operation, because quite frankly, if you don't know the uranium story right now, then where have you been? That's all, though, from Power Lunch for today, brought to you in association with MoneyWeb. We're crossing now to CNBC Europe for Power Lunch Europe with Louisa Boyson. CNBC Africa will be back at 4 o'clock Central African Time with Regional Update.